Oh, sorry. Sorry. Can you hear me now? Um, I'm going to go on, make sure that everyone can hear me. So I'll start over. This is really important. We are at day 1017. 1017. See if you can hear me. That gives everybody a few minutes anyway to come on. Great, thank you. Let's see.
We are at day.
Yep. Okay. So it's working now. But absolutely, what I was just saying is that Richard has had many designations. It's very important that when you are a mom, the moms, right? Mothers of missing, murdered, maligned soldiers, and I would say the families, absolutely, that the first thing you do is pray. That will calm you down so that you can absolutely devise your plan on how you're going to record everything through your notes, through your journals, through live streams, through your posts, through screenshots, through recordings where it's legal, and videotaping through media. Collect everything, record everything. Also, go and get yourself a huge poster of a calendar and just fill that calendar up as you get information. Do your timeline. It's very, very important. And because in this case, because of so many lies, and all the emotions that you go through as a family, the grieving has many, many different emotions. And you have to deal with all the different things that life is giving you at the time, plus what you're going through with your missing, murdered, maligned soldier, plus your own emotions. And so you need to record everything so that when you do have, when you do sit down and try to put everything together, then you can go back and remember what has been said, what you can put those pieces together of all the information that you have collected. And that is very, very important. And so I want to remind everybody that has been following this case. This is a huge case of Richard Halliday, the missing soldier. Is he missing? The very first CONUS Deaths 1 missing soldier under the new Vanessa Guillen absent soldier flowchart. They betrayed Vanessa. They've betrayed the American people with this designation on Richard. And I'm going to tell you why. And he's also the Distinguished Honor Graduate for his cycle in basic training, and also Distinguished Honor Graduate for his cycle in advanced individual training. Guidon bearer, which put him in the orderly room where you would have your unit leaders. That's their office, the unit leaders. And this is very important because that's the one privilege that you do get as a guidon. You don't always have to be in there, but you have to go get the guidon. You have that little bit of privilege to be around the leaders behind the scenes. And Richard saw something and he said something. And he saw something, and we're a few times, and so we have been putting together this timeline. And one thing that we forget, that most people also will forget, is that Richard has many different designations. Okay, first of all, and he has at least 3 different CID files. And why do I say that? Because he was a whistleblower. He's a whistleblower, right? So he's a whistleblower. Then he became a victim. And then 3, the forced disappearance of Richard. So I think, people have to keep in mind that there is these investigations, because of our timeline, and I'm going to go over it a little bit, and you're going to be shocked at everything that we have, just piece by piece. It's like that crumbs, piece by piece operation, Hansel and Gretel, and we will see the way, right? The right way, what happened to Richard, where Richard is, who was involved. And it's so Jack the Ripper, you would not even believe it. And we're just waiting for one of these. It's almost like a gang ideology. Maybe it's an occult ideology that's involved in this. Because remember, we were told that Richard was judged. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's missing. Find him, and then you can judge him. No, we already judged him. We judged him. And I'm like, and they judged him to not be worthy, right? To not be worthy. I don't want to repeat what they said because it was so bad. But so they judged him not to be worthy of living, not to be worthy of being found, not to be worthy of being innocent until proven guilty. They already had judged him. So what court did they judge him in, right? Was it some kind of occult or gang court? I would like to know. And you're going to find out that these names are that have been involved are involved in a criminal way. And these leads that we have gotten, and I want to start calling them leads, because leads are what the chief investigator gets. We're not doing things criminal, illegal. We are getting information that should have been provided to us as a family of Richard Halliday right from the beginning. This is information that should be transparent to all the Americans that are invested in the U.S. military, the U.S. Army in this case, to every most valuable asset, our volunteer sons and daughters. And so these are leads, and these leads we have given over and over to the authorities, and they have played hide and seek with the remains of our son. They have played games with us, lying to us, irregularities, we call them. And as far as the twisting and the turning and not doing things right. So here we are, the chief investigators getting leads, and we're sharing them with you. Remember that Richard was a whistleblower. So let me go over this timeline as a whistleblower. So we know the date that we have for him whistleblowing to the CPS. Now, we haven't gotten that officially, but we are diligently keeping a calendar, diligently filling everything in. And there is very few dates. It's getting so tight. So there's very few dates that Richard would have been able to go and make a Child Protective Service complaint. We also know through the PI interviewing Belen Rocha when that occurred, when, that we know that hard feelings happened before the end of January of 2020. So we have narrowed it down, and we believe that Richard put in Child Protective Services around the date or on the date of January 9th, 2020. Okay, so that would be, you also have to put when offices are open, when they're closed, because, we have the holidays and all of everything that we're filling in. We're constantly filling in when we texted him, when he texted back, what was going on, everything. So when he would be available to make this Child Protective Service complaint, January 9th, 2020. This is what we want verified. And it makes huge sense. Huge sense. The next date, and there's lots of things that happen because in February, March, and we'll be filling that in when we're pretty confident with this January 9th, 2020 date. There's all these other things that happen in February, March, April, May, and into June, right? We know because after he put in that Child Protective Service complaint, the retaliation, the constant severe retaliation started against him. Okay, they took the tools that were entrusted to them, and I'm talking about Major General Clem Coward. I'm talking about Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick. They took the tools that were entrusted to them, being a GOMAR or being a field grade Article 15, and with the, the help, the aid, the accomplices surrounding Richard, they used those tools as weapons against Richard. They weaponized their trust, their tools against our most valuable asset. Absolutely. It was unjust. It was groundless. It was insanity. And they did it. So, and we'll fill all of that in because it's so clear. And we have additional information about March, that to the end of February into March, that is very important because people, we've been waiting to get our freedom of information from the Child Protective Services, and they will not give it to us. Why not? Why not? 2 years. 2 years. They're normally supposed to give it to us within 20 days. Okay? We've been waiting 2 years. It's ongoing. So this is information that our leads, that is from us, 1,000 days of proof, 1,000 days of leads that we have been putting together because we have put together a method of recording, and organizing all of the information that has come in. And not even all of it. It's so much. So as we keep going, things will become even more clear. So I want to jump to June 19th, 2020, because that is when we believe that he made his CID complaint. And that's because of information, leads that we have gotten from soldiers that knew that Richard was getting continuously and severely retaliated against. And, they don't like it. Now, they can't come forward because they see what was done to Richard, and they don't want that to happen to them. Right? And other things were going on during that time. Just the retaliation from the whole COVID mess. The crimes against humanity. They were just absolutely under amazing pressure and retaliation just from that. And here they see what happens to Richard. And so Richard, we believe, brought in a CID complaint because of the ongoing was so bad, retaliation against him, he complained to the CID. We're looking into other complaints, but we believe that date is accurate, which would bring in a lead that we got, and this is why we also put in that June 19th, that June 20th, CID Special Agent Tavita Noosa was assigned to Richard Halliday's case as his victim advocate. Remember, Richard was a whistleblower. Okay? So he was a whistleblower to CPS. Now he's going to CID, and he is a victim advocate because of the retaliation, whatever Richard was complaining about, because we've had a FOIA with this, and for his, he's under investigation still, so they won't release anything. We believe that our lead is right, that on June 23rd, 2020, Tavita Noosa met with Richard Halliday to discuss his concerns, and to provide assistance to him. We have that experience too, with being there and meeting with CID and meeting, I think it was a McDonald's or it was a Burger King, I can't remember which one, but meeting with them, sitting there, and them providing this information to us, but they weren't acting as victim advocate. They wanted information about Richard. So it's we understand that they do meet with you, and they'll meet with you in a neutral place. We've been doing that quite a bit. So June 23rd, which a month later, he goes missing. Okay? A month later, July, now he has become the victim, right? Now he's become the victim. And August 7th, partial remains believed to be those of Richard Halliday are found on Fort Bliss. Now, that date is a little, because of the autopsy reports, because of the death certificate that was, in the stack of papers, and so shocking, absolutely so shocking. There is this discrepancy with the dates when all this happened. When were the remains found? When were additional remains found? And when did they release the information that it was finished their testing, that it was Richard? And so we believe that is what August 7th is when they released that information. And that's why it wasn't the day they were found, it was the date when they released that information. So Richard Halliday then, through this Interpol information, was classified, and all of this, I titled it at the beginning when I put it up there. This is the leads that we are getting, and we are we've been made the chief investigators, and we want the authorities now that have even a better situation than we do. They have top secret access. They have access to all this information. They have special buildings that they sit in. They have special passes. They have security. They have security for their vehicles. They have, they're getting paid for it to do this investigation. We've been doing this investigation for them, and we just want them to verify. We want them to verify and then officially tell us yay or nay. And so here it is on the Interpol that the CID, the USA Criminal Investigative Command, said to the Interpol he died while missing. So his designation is died while missing, and therefore his Interpol was then a yellow Interpol. Okay, that's really important information because our question is, was Richard ever designated a deserter? Because there doesn't seem to ever be a designation for him being a deserter. And yet we were told that he was a deserter. And it's interesting. Yeah, there's so much going on here. Uh, why people didn't know, because we want it verified, because we can't find any verification that Richard was ever designated a deserter, because he's a yellow Interpol. He's died while missing. What is that? That's a, you know, um, that would explain everything much better than how we were told by lies and lies. But everybody has to realize that them misrepresenting our son's case to us is criminal. Absolutely criminal. So Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, instead of being arrested, if this is verified true, he was given a star. And I can tell you right now, he botched this investigation. And he was part of it, big time part of it, with his SJAs, how they could get around everything. And you're going to see that this timeline does not tell the story they were telling us. It tells a very different story. It tells a story of Richard being a whistleblower, being a victim of being illegally exposed, not being cared for by his victim advocate, Tavita Nusa, but being betrayed by his victim advocate. And because we know for a fact that he leaked, which is a crime. We know for a fact that he leaked to Leilani Hart. We know for a fact that they were just up to no good, and that put a target on Richard's back, and he suffered. He went missing. And so now he is the victim and died while missing. And that's on the Interpol, the yellow Interpol. Makes sense, because if he was, if he had any kind of warrant, because once you become a deserter, they issue a warrant, right? And we do have this warrant number, but and so we're trying to verify all of this. But there's no indication through all of what we are investigating that Richard was ever officially designated a deserter. We're getting that he was designated died while missing. And died while missing, let me explain that to you, because that comes from the mortuary affairs. That comes from the casualty and mortuary affairs division with the CID. Because let's say you're in a plane crash, that's pretty clear cut, and your plane crashes and everything is destroyed or into water or whatever, and you can say, well, died while missing. They don't have to produce the remains when you're designated died while missing. And so when people say, well, where is his remains? They say they find his remains, but you don't have to, I'm going to tell you what our leads are telling us about the remains. They tried to um, cover everything up so that those remains wouldn't even be identifiable. Now, that all needs to be verified. And Richard is the very first CONUS Death One missing soldier under the new Vanessa Guillen absent soldier flowchart. Talk about a kick in the teeth to the memory of Vanessa Guillen and all those who fought to get that designation in place, to get that flowchart in place. So, do I believe this and am waiting verification? Yes. Because we've been lied to so much. I mean, just think of Dollar General man, Nadal Baim, who is the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM. They lied to us about him. Shh, it's a secret. It's a secret. Now we understand why it's a secret. They don't want to give us the remains of our son. But legally, they have to cover themselves, you see. So we'll just designate him, Richard, as died while missing. And make him a yellow Interpol. From our sources, from our leads, the designation of Tavita Nusa or the appointment of Tavita Nusa being the victim advocate for Richard ended a week later. Because, of course, he was now died while missing. And Interpol gave that information. Now, the Interpol didn't come until I think September 2nd to September 22nd. There's this delay in there when that notice went out. So now the CID could tell us exactly. The Interpol could tell us exactly. And that's why we're putting this information out there. And then October 8th, 2020 is when Major, now I think he became a lieutenant colonel. He got promoted, which is, they all get their little promotion for participating with unbelievable evil, criminal activity. And there's no doubt in my mind that our CAO that was appointed October 8th, 2020 was up to no good. He was up to no good, y'all. Asymmetric Warfare Group, CAO, was assigned to us that knew all about asymmetric warfare tactics in silico, how to do everything in silico, right? If you are new coming on here, I know this is a lot to take in, but it's a betrayal of the leadership and the lockstepping of those that were assigned to us with the evil. They lockstepped with the evil. And it even goes into the civilian sector. Because how could they do this? Hide the remains, play hide and seek, I say, with the remains of our son, and not tell us everything that happened. and they didn't want it. Can you imagine the impact that Richard's case would have had in 2020 following and uh, Vanessa Guillen, uh, Gregory Morales, Enrique Roman Martinez, Austin Hawk, Caleb Smither, so many others. So many others. Okay, that's just name a few. 3 of them beheaded. And that is, there's no doubt that Vanessa Guillen was beheaded. There's no doubt that Enrique Roman Martinez was beheaded. It's a little bit of a stretch. A little bit, but not quite. Not quite. Not quite enough to not say it. That Austin Hawk was beheaded, because when they lifted up his body, they had to hold his head on because it was falling off. That was in the barracks there at Fort Stewart. They plea dealed with those Jack the Rippers. They plea dealed with them. But that's in Georgia. What happened to Richard is in Texas. Texas is a little bit different story. And those involved in this need an advocate. If someone came up right now and spilled the beans, we would definitely think about advocating with them, for them, advocating for them. But because this is so it's just so bad, and it needs to be exposed. It needs to be exposed, and it is. See, you can't cover up a lie forever. The time chart doesn't fit. Only the truth fits when you start piecing everything together. Lies don't fit, and so you can't cover it up forever. And this is why it's so important to document, record, journal, screenshot, whatever you need to do to get to save as much information as possible, because you also get censored. And I'll be posting up some things that have been censored that we saved. And it's really important for everybody that supports our military to understand what's happening, because we need a retrenching. Because our military service members are at huge risk, because somebody is pulling the strings with a foreign ideology, with a very destructive to the Constitution, to America ideology, a foreign ideology. It's like with leaders like this, who needs enemies? We just are hearing that in the last, just the last few days, we had 2 suicides in the barracks there at Fort Bliss. The suicides are up, mental illness is up, PTSD is up, health issues are way up. You have overdoses up, violent crimes up. I mean, look at this kind of crime. It's so bad. So on October 8th, 2020, we were assigned, if our information is right, that we have kept a casualty assistance officer. Now, that is really telling too, isn't it? Died while missing. Let's assign them a casualty assistance officer. But I will tell you this, that I looked it up, and families of missing soldiers do get assigned a casualty assistance officer. They should call it a different name, a liaison. But we did ask for that. in a meeting, and they called him a liaison afterwards. That's where that came from. But from the start, it was a casualty assistance officer. So I think that is really important. Now, we also have tried to time everything right. And to get this lead, one of our questions was, when did Tavita Nusa lose his badge? When did he lose his badge? Right? And we believe that date is March 15th, 2021. Okay? That's what we believe. So it's not before Richard went missing anymore, because what came up was that he was the victim advocate. So yeah, crazy. What a betrayal of our Constitution. So tomorrow, I know it's so late tonight, but tomorrow I do want to make it really, I'll talk about the civilian side of this. The civilian side and what that means in this case. And put together some dates like that. But something popped open. Let's see. See if I can get this picture up. Yeah. And I'm going to turn this on. And I don't need any video audio. But this is interesting because this is area 244, training area 244, which is that mock Afghanistan village, right? This is what we believe it is, and it's popped up again. And as that undocumented area that remains were found. If you have not kept up with this, December of 2020, we received a call telling us, did you know that Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe is looking for Richard's remains in this area, the mock city, Kamal Jabbar area? We believe this is that mock city, a picture of it. We finally found it. Now, if you know this area and that's not the picture, then please tell us. But it seems to be a replica of the Middle Eastern village recently constructed at a Fort Bliss training area, was used during the border hunting training relentless. Yeah, you can go and find it. I think this is super interesting because we were told that Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, not by him, he didn't call us and say, I am going to conduct a search for, we have a lead that your son's remains may be there. Okay. And it's very interesting, even the dating and all of that we're trying to get, but we know it happened in December, that, and was their remains found. We will be forthcoming with what we think on that too. But I just wanted to tell you this plays a part in that undocumented, that suspicion of the undocumented. So things are absolutely coming together. And on the civilian front too. Why Bill Hicks, who is the DA in El Paso, why he hasn't reached out to us, why Governor Abbott has not reached out to us, why Jaime Esparza, who's the AG, did not reach out to us, and he was the DA, okay, and then Yvonne Rosales came in, and why she was removed. That's also very interesting, because the narratives don't fit, and we're going to try to make some sense out of that for you. Why an elected DA was replaced by an unelected Bill Hicks, right? And did she play a part in find Richard Halliday? Was she interested in this case? So that is also something that we will be addressing. And then also this El Paso Matters situation we will be addressing also, because that didn't just come out of nowhere. Something had to lead on that. And we can't forget, and I'll put pieces together with the other maps that we have. See, we have so much information that we've collected, and it's been being pieced together now. And we have that map of that lead going through Santa Teresa port of entry to kilometer 29, which is a very sensitive area where remains also were found, because Richard, Jack the Ripper, they wanted to dispose of him. They didn't want anyone to find him. And, you know, so there were multiple places where his fragmented partial remains were found. And how this all happened, are we just making everything up? No. What we're finding in the leads, it's telling a different story than what this narrative was concocted, because nothing is following the narrative that the Army has told us. It doesn't make sense. When you have the command sergeant major saying, I didn't even know I had a missing soldier on my rolls, and that needs to be clarified, because he said, I didn't even know I had a deserter on my rolls. Well, he might not have. He might not have. That might have been like a twisty lie. You know, like he knew something was up, but Richard wasn't officially ever declared a deserter. So he could say that legally and get away with it. Nothing, you know, the whole it's a secret by a man that walks into a Dollar General and says, I'm with the FBI, and the FBI has found Richard's remains. And this happened on the 26th of October, 2020. So the died while missing, that makes sense. That makes sense. And it also makes sense out of why the media is so quiet. Why doesn't the Media Matters why doesn't the media want to touch this case? It's so criminal at such high levels. We're talking about General McConville. General McConville putting together a task force find Richard Halliday, but not ever issuing an operational order for it, which the military doesn't do anything without an operational order. So it was, and he had to have given the okay for them not to be in uniform. That made it unofficial. So not to be in uniform at a task force find Richard Halliday with 15 plus agencies. This is, who's pulling the strings here? It's not the American people. It's not the duty to the Constitution. To get all of these agencies to show up, it's so costly. To bring down Lieutenant General Donna Martin, they did that for her. They didn't offer anything like that for us to come. Where was that victim's advocate then? Where was the victim's advocate then? And I believe that was supposed to be coming from Jaime Esparza. And where is the transparency of this brutal crime, Jack the Ripper crime, from Greg McDonald? I mean, isn't he worried about more brutal crime going on, and even in a border city? I mean, that's his department. Where is Jeff Downey of the FBI? Doesn't he care about these Jack the Ripper type murders going on in El Paso, endangering our children? It's who is pulling the strings? And those aren't strings, those are chains. Chains of slaves. Because they're shaking. They are uncomfortable participants. They're shaking. They're on, I don't want to speak for them, but I saw a lot of them, and they're shaking and they're unhappy. And I can't even imagine what their conversations with either God or the demons are like. Because you have to remember, Richard was a whistleblower. We know that for a fact. We know for a fact that Tavita Nusa leaked those. He had access to Richard's case because he was Richard's victim advocate. And there is so much conflict of interest in this, because not only was Leilani Hart the mother of First Lieutenant Dallas Hart, who absolutely, we have witnesses that say that Dallas Hart was Delta Battery 143, and they wanted to cover that. Why would the military go to this kind of extent with all of these other agencies and these outside media and all of that to hide this up? And why? Well, we're getting a bigger picture of that too. And I told you there is a connection. There is a connection. And I've showed you with maps. I've already mentioned it many, many times. And I'll be talking about that tomorrow. I'll formulate it. I could sit here for hours and hours and tell you everything, even about the MP guard mount. Why would leaders send a senior leader to the military police there at Fort Bliss? And I'm so sorry, Anthony Swafford. I am so sorry for you, because your leaders betrayed you and you believe them and you let yourself be hypnotized by them because of, I think, the trust that you had. You gave them trust just like we gave them trust. We absolutely understand that kind of hypnosis. And but the training was bad that you got, because your training should have told you he's innocent until proven guilty. We need to find this soldier. He's a United States most valuable asset. We need to find him. But you trusted the senior leader to judge Richard, and then you judged him. And you judged us. And you judged us, our character. And we thank you for the lead that it came from the military police guard mount, which is a change of shift to the military police there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, that they were conducting a smear campaign on Richard from the guard mount, a groundless smear campaign. Can you imagine? on a died while missing soldier. And they didn't tell the MPs that. They didn't tell the MPs that this soldier was a whistleblower, that this soldier was Distinguished Honor Graduate for Basic Training in AIT, that this soldier was brutally betrayed by a CID victim's advocate and then brutally murdered, cut asunder. His parts, whatever they did to them to try to make them, were they unidentifiable, and then to spread them around. That military police guard mount leader didn't tell the military police soldiers that, did he? Or she? Did they? Because who knows how many times they did that. This is so criminal what they did. Thank you, Patty. Praying God continues to give you strength that you need. Thank you. I pray you can bring Richard home. Thank you so much for the prayers, and Danielle too. I thought it was either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. I believe, in my opinion, near Christmas is when I believe it may have been. Yes, exactly. Christmas time. And yeah, we have those dates are narrowing down, and I think the pieces are falling together because look, Richard would have been a yellow Interpol. Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz would have never said what he did. The casualty assistance officer, the lateness of that. Look at, you're supposed to get a casualty assistance officer within 24 hours. Okay, say you give them, a few days. But you're supposed to get them very quick. That didn't come until October 8th, 2020. October 8th, 2020. The delay in notifying the family. Richard's liaison passed away during this time as well. No, that was also a casualty assistance officer. That was the second one. Yeah. How much of Richard's case affected the liaison as well? Yeah. But he wasn't called a liaison. He was called a casualty assistance officer. And just by us, they were called liaisons because we just thought, oh my gosh, he's missing. Why are they calling them a casualty assistance officer? They need to change that terminology. I even mentioned that. But officially, they were casualty assistance officers. So, yeah. So some of my posts are hard to find. And I'm hoping they're still there, but they're hard to find. And to confirm everything. So things take a little bit longer because we don't have a huge staff, because we're not getting paid for this. Not that I want to be paid for this, but I'm just saying the DA and the AG and the AUSAs and the governor and Vanity Fair Veronica. Vanity Fair, she can't look away from that mirror, her self-aggrandizement enough to do her job. And she gets the pay, and she gets the protection, she gets the building, she gets the staff, she gets the power to do these subpoenas, the power to do a congressional hearing, to investigate judiciously. But she rather have in her district Jack the Ripper's running around. She rather have unaccounted for children. She rather have the rape of a 7-year-old. She'd rather have the increase of a toxic culture that causes all kinds of criminals and puts so many of her constituents in danger, spiraling downward, into the abyss. No matter how hard you try to get out of it, you're going to be affected somehow. And she doesn't live in that world because she lives in mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? That's the world she lives in. And so she could have ended this. She could have been the total hero of El Paso and all El Pasoans and of the military and of all service members. But she's controlled by somebody. She's controlled by somebody because she is not allowed to be the hero. And why not? The same thing with Ted Cruz. The same thing with Governor Abbott. The same thing with all those officials that are in that area. They could be the total hero. Not even Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe wanted to be the hero. He wanted to participate in unbelievable evil. Was he promised a third star for that? Because that's what it seems like to us. The same thing with Donna Martin. So he's playing that Vanity Fair game too. Participate in the Vanity Fair. Look in the mirror and you get a star. It's and where is our safety? Where is our safety? Where is our protection? Where is our staff provisions, right? I'm here at 12:24 doing my live stream. Thank you. But like I've said, like Rob and I have said together, we'll climb every mountain. We'll go down every stream, go down into every valley, follow every stream until we find Richard. And we want the truth, and we want our son. So if you have any questions about the dateline, if you have any corrections about the dateline, any insights about the date, the timeline that we have given, please call 941-677-0060, or you can text, leave a message. It's super helpful. And because it's been Team Find Richard Halliday that's helped us put all this together, just like what Danielle is saying, it was Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. It was right there. We were shocked that they were out there at Christmas. And it just is telling, isn't it? It's just telling. Yeah. So I just want to thank everyone, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. So I'll see you then.